Hi, this is Trevor Conquergood. Welcome to this week's RNK Software Club's video for the week. And the topic for this week is about grids and guidelines and how you can use the Snap to option to help with creating. And so if you're ready to get started, let's go ahead and pop onto my workspace. And so now you can see the Floriani software. And, if I take like just a tool like the, create rectangle, and I click and drag, I can make rectangles very quickly and easily. But if I needed them to all be like at the same, sort of line, it's hard to draw them that way, and I know that you can use your arrangement tools, and, obviously you can stop drawing these and select them and say that you all want them to be aligned to, say, the top or the bottom or a sideline. But what I thought we could talk about today is how you can use your grid. So the software has a background that's, you can click here to turn it on and turn it off. And you can actually adjust the settings for your grid. And then there's options that will make, when you draw something, you can snap to the grid. So all of that comes from a right click over top of the kind of like ruler space at the top of the workspace or on the side of the workspace. When you right click, you'll see a menu. And the first option is, metric and inches, right? So if you need to measure in metric, you choose metric. Now your rulers are in metric and everything kind of works in metric if you right click and you change to inches. So it's very easy to switch, the way that you're working with both kind of ways of measuring. And then if you right click on here, you've got this options that I was talking about: snap to grid, snap to guidelines, snap to anchors, and how to set your grid settings. And so just for example, if I say snap to grid, and now because that's turned on, if I go to draw a square, so let's just take that rectangle tool, and if I get anywhere near one of these grid sort of sections, it snaps to it. So it's really easy to make, two squares that are exactly the same size, because you can just count how many rows and columns of sort of grid spaces it takes to make that sort of space or that shape. And they'll all be evenly spaced and evenly kind of height and, to the same line. So that's a great thing about, the ability to snap to on your toolbar. So right click to turn it off, you just come back and check it again. So now I can put my ones down and they can go in between the spaces. And so that's the concept with snap to. It's the same thing with snap to guidelines. So first of all, if I turn on snap to guidelines, well, there aren't any guidelines in my workspace. A guideline happens when you click on your ruler and hold your mouse down, your like left click on the ruler, hold the mouse down and drag to make a guideline. And I can make as many of those as I want to. So see how I've got two guidelines, and when I right click, I have turned on snap to guidelines. So that means if I get anywhere near this guideline, it will snap onto it. And if I get anywhere near the bottom one, it will snap onto it. And so you can get it off, but once you get within sort of so close to it, it'll magically just magnet onto it. And so that's cool that you can use these for, I guess, alignment and just when you're creating in general. So the last one here is called snap to anchors. And I think that one might be of interest, especially to people that really like to create and do a lot of digitizing, if you will call it that. When you go on snap to anchors, notice that all of the shapes get little kind of blue node or points where the shapes were created. And so because I have snap to, let's just check, we have snap to anchors turns on. So that means if I create a box and I get anywhere near the blue dot of another box, it will snap onto it. And so it can easily kind of snap to, if you're starting a new shape and you want it to be your next one to start right there, you can have it snap to the anchors and they'll all connect to each other and it's not connected like they join. They're still all individual boxes, but they share that one common point. And so that's another tool that you can use. And literally, if you're digitizing, like if I use one of the digitizing tools to digitize, and I want to make a run stitch that goes from this square to that square, it'll magnet to the points. and I can just easily do that. And so, yeah. The other thing I thought we should talk about is the right click for grid settings. So now you can come in and sort of get a menu of options. So there's really sort of the horizontal and vertical spacing for each little cell. And that sort of cell is going to be marked in gray, but you can choose the color. If you'd rather it be blue, then you can make it be blue. So if I say, okay, now I'll have blue cells, and then the purple squares, those are based upon the grid settings. So go back to the option for grid settings, and it says here the options are like for every so many cells, put a purple line, and you can make that be a red line or a green line or whatever you want. So if I make this be, and so right now it's all being done in inches. So I have a 1/4 inch for every sort of small cell, and for every 8. So, that means every purple square is what, 2 inches, right? Because there's 8 1/4 inches. So you get the idea, and you can set these to any numbers that you want. They don't have to even be squares. So if you'd rather have these be, 1/4 inch by 1/2 inch, notice that now I get rectangular sort of cells. So really it's totally up to you to how to arrange your workspace, and it comes from the grid settings. And so you can also see in here those same options, the snap to, and generally speaking, if they're not checked, it means they're not turned on. And if they are checked, then it means that it's going to snap to those areas. So yeah, when you have your, I guess, lines, you can show the grid as dashed lines, as dots, or as solid lines. So it just really depends on kind of how you want to display it. But yeah, so that's very good. I hope you enjoyed this week's RNK Software Club's video for the week. And until next week, have a wonderful day. Thank you for watching, and bye for now.